What if in the original Rocky movie, Rocky Balboa lost badly, humiliated, forgotten the next day? What if instead of rising to fame, he fell into underground fights, and one night his punch killed a man? Now he's hunted, broken, and fighting not for glory, but survival. But what happened next will change how you see him forever. Let's start from the beginning. The bell rang for the last time, and with it, something inside Rocky Balboa broke. Not just a rib or two, but something deeper, something tied to identity and purpose. As Apollo Creed strutted around the ring like a showman untouched by war, Rocky lay on the canvas, blinking through swollen lids and tasting blood he couldn't feel anymore. There was no dignity in this loss, no gritty draw, no handshake, just domination. The crowd didn't boo. They didn't care. They stood for Creed. Cameras clicked for Creed. Reporters rushed past Rocky like he was part of the mat. He was a mistake, a warm-up act. The people who chanted his name a few weeks ago were already forgetting how to spell it. By morning, the headlines hit like jabs to the gut. Creed toys with amateur in one-sided spectacle. Rocky Balboa, the bum from the block, lives up to his nickname. On TV, sports analysts laughed. "Balboa looked like he was swinging underwater," one said, sipping coffee. Mickey didn't call, didn't answer. The gym was suddenly closed for repairs. Even Adrian. She stayed, but quieter. Her eyes didn't meet his in the kitchen. Her touch was softer, hesitant. Not because she didn't love him, but because Rocky didn't seem to be in the room anymore. He had checked out. The man who once chased chickens in parking lots like his life depended on it. Now took 3 hours to get out of bed. He tried to go back to work at Shamrock Meats. The cold room welcomed him like an old enemy. His hands still worked, beat and thick as they were, but his spirit was missing. Louis, the butcher, gave him pity shifts and looked the other way when Rocky came in drunk. Kids recognized him on the street, but not for the right reasons. "Hey, aren't you that guy who got destroyed by Creed?" one shouted from a bike. At the bar, men reenacted his knockdown like a bar joke. He just took it, quietly, every time. Then came Tommy Mook Lombardo, ex-fighter turned promoter, face like chewed gum, jacket 2 sizes too small. He found Rocky behind Delaney's bar, sipping bottom-shelf bourbon with a frozen steak over his knuckles. No judges, no time limit, no cameras. $2,000. You in? Rocky looked up. "Who's the other guy?" "Does it matter?" It didn't. That night, they brought him to a basement in Camden. Mold crept along the concrete walls. A circle of men stood smoking, gambling, whispering. At the center, a single hanging bulb buzzed overhead like it wanted to die. The man they called Carson waited shirtless, scarred, soulless, ready. No gloves, no introductions, just pain. The fight was short. Carson was strong but wild. Rocky, even broken, had instincts. He absorbed 3 punches, then caved Carson's nose in with a right hook that echoed off the brick. The crowd roared, not in celebration, but hunger. They wanted more. And Rocky, chest heaving, blood dripping from his lip, felt something he hadn't felt since before Creed. He felt seen. So when another man stepped forward, half drunk and already taping his knuckles, Rocky didn't ask questions. He just nodded. And he didn't stop. The deeper Rocky sank into the underground fight scene, the less it resembled sport, and the more it tasted like survival. Gloves were optional. Medical attention was a luxury. Rules? They didn't exist. These weren't boxing matches. These were cageless confessions of broken men. The fights got uglier. He no longer faced boxers, but ghosts in human skin, men with broken pasts and hollow futures, drug addicts, gang enforcers, men just out of prison with something to prove and nothing to lose. And Rocky beat them. Not because he wanted to win, but because he didn't know how to stop. With each win, the money grew thicker. Stacks of unmarked bills slipped into envelopes under tables and trash lids. The venues changed too. Warehouses in Jersey, abandoned parking decks in Philly, old breweries converted into blood pits. Men in tailored suits watched from the shadows, surrounded by women who didn't smile and men who didn't blink. Rocky barely noticed. He drank more, slept less, started chain-smoking between rounds. He couldn't remember the last time Adrian called, and at some point he stopped checking. Then came Trenton. A fight booked on short notice. An old train depot turned fight cage with rusted iron railings and floodlights that made everything look jaundiced. The opponent's name was Marcus King. No backstory, no record. Just tattoos on his face and deadness in his stare. Rocky didn't train. He didn't warm up. He drank a beer while his knuckles were taped and spat blood into a bucket like it was routine. Marcus came out swinging. Hard, dirty, reckless. He landed a few shots, but Rocky wasn't trying to block. He was waiting for something, anything to justify what he was about to do. Then Marcus said it. "You're just Creed's punching bag, old man." Rocky saw red. He hit Marcus like he wanted to erase the last year of his life with his fists. He drove him into the floor, broke his nose, his jaw. The crowd screamed for the stoppage, but there was no stoppage. Marcus went limp, and Rocky kept punching, kept breaking. When they dragged him off, his hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the need to keep going. Marcus King was pronounced dead 3 hours later in a Trenton ER. By morning, the fight circuit went dark. Promoter gone. Money gone. The police were investigating, but everyone knew the rules, until someone dies. Then the rules become real. News stations pounced. Former heavyweight contender kills opponent in illegal brawl. Balboa's bloody return from hero to hunted. Adrian left without a word. Paulie gave an interview for $100 and a bottle. The gym shut its doors permanently, and Rocky disappeared. He drifted. Cleveland, Baltimore, St. Louis, using fake names, working graveyard shifts, sleeping behind dumpsters. He talked to no one. But Marcus King never left him. His face appeared in dreams, in reflections, in blood-stained sidewalks. Guilt gnawed at him like rats in his chest. Months later, under the leaking roof of an abandoned factory in Detroit, a shadow stepped into the rain. Her name was Connie Rivas, broad-shouldered, burn scar down her neck. She didn't flinch when she said his name. "You done hiding, Balboa? Or you ready to become something they fear?" Rocky didn't answer. But for the first time in months, he looked up. Connie wasn't just a fight promoter. She was a survivor of police abuse, an ex-fighter with scars that spelled out her story. She took broken men and made them weapons. Her ring wasn't about prize money. It was about redemption through pain. Rocky trained like never before. No cameras, no reporters, just his fists and fire. His body aged, sure, but his anger had matured too. It wasn't wild anymore. It was focused. It was biblical. The fights were raw. Glass knuckles, bare elbows, blood on concrete. There were no corners to retreat to, no referees to end the round. And the crowd? They weren't gamblers. They were survivors. Ex-military. Women who'd buried sons. Men who'd lost everything. In that darkness, Rocky found something. Not forgiveness, not peace, but clarity. He wasn't a joke. He was the truth people were too scared to face. Soon, the name Balboa returned, spoken not on ESPN, but in whispers. The Butcher of Trenton. The man who kept standing. The one who fought the devil himself in Cleveland and made the devil cry. But it wasn't enough. Rocky didn't just want to win. He wanted to send a message, so he challenged 3 champions, one after another, in one night. And when they asked why, he said, "'Cause I ain't fighting for titles anymore. I'm fighting for ghosts." The arena wasn't legal. It was a repurposed subway tunnel in Chicago. Hundreds lined the walls, no cameras, just eyes. The first fighter was Mason Slug Rigsby, young, lean, fast. Rocky broke his ribs with a single body hook. The second, Jacob Flint, was all muscle and rage. Rocky shattered his jaw. The third was White Death Anton, a Russian-born pit fighter with a record that read like a graveyard. The crowd went quiet. This wasn't sport. This was war. They fought for 27 minutes. Rocky was bleeding from the ear. Anton's shoulder was dislocated. But in the end, Rocky didn't fall. He refused, even when Anton begged him to stop. Rocky lifted the man's head off the floor and whispered, "This ain't about you. It never was." He stood over the man, then dropped to his knees, looked at the crowd. "I'm not your hero. I'm what you become when the system forgets you, when the cheers stop, when the world spits you out." They didn't cheer. They wept. Rocky walked out of the ring alone. No cameras followed. But a week later, videos leaked. Underground cell footage. The internet exploded. Old fans cried. New ones were born. He disappeared again. Some say he trains fighters in a forgotten gym in Queens. Others say he died in Mexico, helping a town fight off cartel violence bare-knuckled. But one thing's certain. Rocky Balboa didn't lose. He evolved, and in doing so, he made the world feel again.